Hi. This is my challenge today, to talk to you in the circle. I'm really excited and delighted to be here. You guys are my hope and optimism about the future. And so I want to share with you today where my mind is at, things I'm spying about building a new economy. And I also intend to depress you a little bit, so get ready for that. But we'll have a little roller coaster ride, good, bad, good. Okay? So let's start. So I have been thinking about what the future economy is going to look like, and I want to take us back to an olden time, very old, pre-industrial. Imagine the pre-industrial economies. We were really all kind of entrepreneurs. We were really self-employed. We were doing things ourselves, autonomously, in charge. And industrialization kind of changed us from producers and turned us into consumers. That the whole industrial pattern was we're going to make standardized things at a certain price point, and we're going to get these economies of scale. And in order to do that, we're going to make bigger and bigger companies to reduce transaction costs. And we're going to end up being at work as little worker bees and otherwise consumers. And so this is a picture of people as consumers. There's a new thing that the internet has enabled. And what we know is that it's enabled us to reduce transaction costs. And because we can reduce transaction costs, that's no longer an advantage for big companies. Anybody can reduce transaction costs. So it's really transformed the shape of these. And I think Zipcar was really an early one of this new organizational structure. And I'm thinking of this as Peers Incorporated, a new organizational paradigm that is a partnership between autonomous individuals and large institutions that are turning complex things into simple ways for people to participate. And I think this new organizational structure is going to drive the new sustainable collaborative economy. And we heard today from Zia, he actually had examples of it. Lara had examples of it. Jack has expressed examples of it. So as I go through, you will start to see how this resonates with what you're seeing in the world today. So Zipcar was a pioneer at this, and I think we succeeded for 3 reasons. So the first was Zipcar leveraged excess capacity. And if I had something important to say today, it's this idea of excess capacity. So if we think about Zipcar, before there were 2 ways you could consume cars. One was you owned it. That cost you about $9,000 a year on average in the US, yet you drive it about 5% of the time. So there was this huge excess capacity. I bought this big, massive car, and it's sitting there 95% of the time. That was one way I could consume it. The other way was that I could get a rental car and buy it in these 24-hour bundles. Again, I might need a car for 2 hours. I might need it for 26 hours. I had to buy it in these big lumps. So because Zipcar was leveraging this excess capacity that was out there, our economic model was really interesting. The economics were completely transformed, and there was this little entry point. So for you guys, I'll talk a lot more about excess capacity, but you've got to look into your life and look into your surroundings, not just physical things, but resources, networks, and where do you see excess capacity? Those are things that have already been paid for, and you can now leverage that in a very, very cheap price. So Zipcar succeeded because we leveraged this excess capacity. The second thing we did is we built a platform for participation. If you think about how you rent a car today, it takes 20 minutes. You're standing in that line. It's really annoying. So we built this platform where we let the individuals choose their precise car, and it takes 30 seconds to make a reservation, as you know. So we took a very complex thing, we bundled it all, we did this beautiful technology platform, and so it takes 30 seconds to rent a car. All in, insurance, gas, getting in, everything all together. It was this platform for participation that made it possible. So we used technology to make this sharing simple. And the last piece is that we thought of our consumers not as consumers. I thought of them as members and, in fact, as collaborators. If we go back to this car rental model, in the car rental industry, you're on the other side of the counter, you're not trustworthy, you're going to screw everything up, and you're over there, and we do everything right, and you guys are, as I say, consumers. With Zipcar, we said, no, you're going to be on our side of the counter, and you're going to be actually co-creators. You're going to be collaborators in this, and we can only do this if we have this honor system between us, if we talk together a lot. And it was Zipcar really treating its users as members and as co-creators. I asked them lots and lots of questions when I was doing the company. Which kind of cars, what kind of locations, who do you know? Let's have some parties together. So we really transformed how people thought about us. And I think over the last decade, Zipcar was founded in 2000, we have this cartoon now that is pretty obvious. So Moses coming down from the mountain, you know, with the commandments. And is there a section at the bottom for comments? Today, you know, 2013, we anticipate that we are participants. We are collaborators. And when we're cut out, we're thinking, like, what's up with that? No, I am a co-creator in everything. I am part of it. So I want to give you one of my favorite examples. So Peers Incorporated, this business model has these 3 building blocks, just to remind you. Peer collaborators and a platform for participation, and leveraging this excess capacity. So if we look at these very standard companies that you guys have heard the stories of again and again and again, when I look at this, I see this organizational structure at work. You know, so we have these companies that have built platforms for participation, and individuals have put their excess capacity on it. I'm particularly fond of things like Skype. Imagine they built a telecommunications company in a matter of years, leveraging Robin's internet connection, Robin's laptop, and Robin's video camera. They didn't have to pay for any infrastructure. They didn't have to build any wires, no cell towers. It was all built on the back of this. So, you know, Wikipedia, my excess capacity of knowledge. You guys know all these. And just think, this is this new organizational structure that sharing is now really trivial. We want to be participants. And if we look about what's happening, it's really interesting. So I look at this and I say, OK, why are these companies succeeding? What is happening? We talked about the industrial production. What industries and big companies and big institutions do really, really well is they make these, and that individuals can't do well. So companies alone, why we have companies, is because they can make these huge, giant, multi-million-dollar investments. If you need lots and lots of different types of intelligence, you can get all those different kinds of people to produce and work on this project. You can have deep sector knowledge. And if you need standards and standardization and contracts, it's big companies that can do that. No individual can create their own little standard. And all of these benefits are built together in a brand promise, and they're global, these types of efforts. But on the other hand, we have what individuals do, and what individuals do incredibly well. And so what do individuals do that is really expensive and painful for big companies is they make lots of really small investments. They do this localization, customization, and specialization. When Lara was talking, you know, it's people who are on the ground who are much better, the ones who can get in deep. So her website is a collaboration of all these little tiny pieces locally brought together, and she has built this platform that no individual can have that kind of market or that kind of reach. So when we put these, and we think of companies today always wanting to get into my social networks. Well, my social networks and my friends, that's something that's obvious and easy for me to tap into. So things that are local and customized and specialized, individuals are vastly better at that. Individuals and small local companies. So we put these two together, and of course, they're incredibly complementary. And it's because of the internet and technology that we now can make this joining in a kind of seamless, painless, lower transaction cost way. And this is what I'm calling Peers Incorporated. So if we look at these two sides, the incorporated side builds a platform for participation, and what Peers deliver is a diversity of offering. And as I'll go through, this is incredibly powerful. To make this a little, I don't say hippier, I want to say a little simpler. This partnership and this collaboration is really symbiotic and complementary, that each side of the equation has to do value sharing so the other side wants to play. I think Facebook is an example of where we're beginning to decide, do we want to play? Right? That in the beginning, we thought, yeah, I want to contribute my stuff, my friends, my pictures, I want to do this gossiping online. And Facebook was willing to do it, was happy to do it, and they were going to build their platform. But as they try to monetize more and more, I may decide that I don't want to play their game anymore. So you really have this balance between the two sides of what's going on. And as I say, it's all swimming in this sea of excess capacity, that if you took this little partnership and you wrung it out, it would be excess capacity that flows. So when I'm sending a photograph that I really intend for my daughter to see or my family to see on Facebook, all of my other friends can see it if I choose to. Or in Skype, we talked about YouTube. All of these there's this excess capacity because people aren't having to buy the entire asset. They're getting what's left over. I want to talk to you a little bit more about the incorporated side. When you have a platform, when you build a platform, you necessarily, because of its platformness, get high growth and scalability. And that's if you can pull off building a great platform. So if we look at this, here are some pictures. Look, this is Airbnb, another example of a Peers Incorporated company. And look at their growth curve. I mean, it is just phenomenal what is going on here. And you can look at the early years. It takes a long time to get a platform right. It is so non-trivial. One of my favorite examples is if we think of the fight between Google Video and YouTube. Why would two guys with a good idea beat out Google? And they beat them out because they had a better platform. It was easier to upload more form factors of video form factors onto YouTube than it was for Google Video. And I also think it was easier, like the UI was better. The share button was, brighter and to the left. Whatever they did, they managed to make this platform better to both the producers and consumers of the content. So this is a characteristic curve. As I say, when you build a platform right, it really scales well. Here's a friend of mine's company, one of the largest ride-sharing companies in the world, BlaBlaCar. And so, of course, ride-sharing is excess capacity. I'm going from here to there, and I have my 3 empty seats. So to fill those seats on that trip, and again, you can see his curve. It took a long time to get it going, and once he got the platform right, there's been this explosion. And again, he didn't have to build a train. He didn't have to lay a track. All of this was accomplished on excess capacity. Here, Fiverr.com, quite amusing. So what would you do for $5? Again, you should, if you ever need to buy a great birthday present, very creative one, go to Fiverr and check it out. But you can see they also have this nice curve. And Etsy here in Brooklyn, same idea, a marketplace for individuals, and is growing fabulously well. Again, no one of those individuals would have been able to create, what's the shipping program look? What's the payment look like? How do I attract all those customers? And Etsy can do that. How do I display it beautifully? Etsy does all that stuff, and the individuals provide the local part. Just the last one, Topcoder, a design and engineering firm. Here they have 400,000 engineers participating in creating really complex, doing complex projects. Last, if you think of your smartphone, that was excess capacity. You bought it to make phone calls, and now there's been 1.5 million apps designed over the last 4 years. The peers, what do peers do? We've talked about excess capacity. The peers are delivering this diversity, and the diversity really delivers an amazing amount of innovation, resilience, redundancy, and community. So if you think about Airbnb, it's not like 650,000 bed and breakfasts. It's got this individual brand, and all those people are iterating on the hotel model in some fabulous and much better ways. We think, Bill Joy of Sun said famously, there's more smart people outside the room than inside the room, no matter how many of us there are. And this is what the Peers Incorporated model lets us get at, is we can get at this amazing innovation and creativity that is out there and tap into it. And again, to the resilience and redundancy, if one Airbnb host doesn't produce, who cares? It doesn't take, there's nothing that's too big to fail. I feel like I've got too little time on my monitor. I think I had more time. So this is Buzzcar, my company in France, and these are images of our owners and their cars. And you can see they have this incredible diversity of who they are, what kind of cars they are, the price points, what kind of people they are. I love these photos of our users. And today in France, after 2 years, we have, I can't go back, but you have to wait on that. So after 2 years in France, we have 7,000 cars parked across France. And it took Zipcar a lot longer than 2 years to have 7,000 cars. So an important piece of this Peers Incorporated model that I want to leave you with is we really need to strengthen our community muscle. And the Peers Incorporated business model enables you to get into that community side and build these communities. And why? Because we need to have community muscle memory. And if I think about the hard times ahead, this is something that we really need to develop, is that our instincts are, let's go straight out to our community when the going gets tough, rather than the guns and ammo in the basement and moving to Montana. So this idea of exercising our community muscle and then having the right reaction. Let me see what my next slide is. So if we think about the world that I want to create and live in, this world that's very local and customized, where we're working as communities. You know, here is downtown Cambridge, where I live, and there's this community activity where instead of being in our own cars driving around, we are bumping into people on the street that we know, and there's a much more fluidity and community connection. And I have 2 minutes for what I want to now depress you with. So the reason I've always been a climate realist, and I want you guys to become a climate realist too, and to really understand what's going on. The World Bank produced a report just about a year ago. World Bank is a very, very conservative financial institution, I might add. And this report that they put out is 4 degrees, turn down the heat. 4 degrees is where we will be if all the countries do everything they promised to do by 2100. And 4 degrees is 7 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees Celsius. So you think, okay, what does plus 7 degrees Celsius look like, global average? Like, what does that mean? So I thought, I have no idea. What does that mean? So I went and did some research, and when it was minus 7 degrees Celsius, it was actually in the last ice age. And so minus 7 degrees Celsius, last ice age, where you and I are standing right now, was under several miles of ice. That was what minus 7 degrees looks like. And we are going forward 7 degrees, not in thousands and thousands of years, not in 35,000 years, but in probably 85 years. Some scientists, I've been doing some research, are not clear that humans can exist at 0.4 degrees. The last time it was plus 4 degrees on average was 20 million years ago. There weren't any humans. So we're going there right now, right this second, in 85 years, if we do every single thing positive that we promised to do, and you can know how good we are at doing things we promised to do. To make it a little bit step worse, when you look at these global averages, it turns out that over land, it's hotter. And so over land, it's going to be plus 11 degrees Fahrenheit in North America in the summers by 2100 if we do everything right. And if we don't do it right, that's what we're getting by 2060s. The IPCC report that just came out 3 weeks ago said we have 20 years to decarbonize. 20 years. How long do you expect to live? And that 20 years is giving you a 50-50 chance of a 2-degree increase. And 2 degrees is what the scientists said is an outside. When we go beyond that, it's going to be a world that we don't even know how to live in. So every single morning, I am waking up thinking, oh my God, let's get with the program. How can we move things fast? So I've completely depressed you. Hold on. Things that you can be doing and you should be doing is you can role model in your daily life so your friends know that you're on with the program. I ride my bike and I try to start carrying my helmet into meetings so people realize what I'm doing. Leadership in my business life, you're seeing it now. And of course, act around politics. But a friend of mine, Bami Banerjee from Stanford, has this great sentence that I'm using. You can't solve exponential problems with linear solutions. And so I need you guys to up your game. Stop with the linear solutions. There is no time. We've really got to do these exponential solutions. And this is why I've given you this talk, because we need to try this Peers Incorporated model. What we know about the Peers Incorporated model is we can have incredible scale. We've got to start building platforms that can scale. We've got to address these issues with these platforms. So going back, as I say, this is the solution. And for me, transportation is the center of the universe, because without great transportation, you can't get to work, you can't get food, you can't have a job, you can't have leisure, you can't be educated. So we are seeing some solutions. But there are all these other areas which need attention, which are big problems. All of them need peer-incorporated approaches. We need to build platforms for participation. We need to leverage excess capacity. We've got to get with the program. So I just want to leave with Tim DeChristopher is a climate activist who went to jail for a couple of years, and I was hearing him talk, and he had a really great sentence. He said, "We are on track for such rapid and intense change, we might as well steer towards the world we want to see." So the world that I want to see is the one I want to live in, viably, that has incredible community, that is local, where we trust each other. And then to give just the very, very last slide, the company that I built, Zipcar, 3 years in, we got this email that was sent into info@zipcar.com, so the big slush pile. And I'm going to show you the entire email. All I've edited out is the person's name. Have I told you lately that I love you? So we can build companies that people really love and that they send love letters to and that really improve their lives. And I'm looking at you guys with optimism because you are the ones who are going to help make this happen. We have to create our future and go get them. Thank you.